Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to another entry in this trip through the Omen franchise. It's been a few weeks, but to catch you up, I bought this little boxed set last summer and finally got around to checking them out. I'd seen the original Omen film so long ago, I had almost no memory of it, so this was definitely a great trip to kind of go down. Now, I enjoyed parts 1 through 3 thoroughly and would easily rewatch all of them one day, but when going through this set, I discovered that the fourth film on this was not the Omen 4, it was actually the remake of the Omen from 2006. So, I headed over to Hulu to check out Omen Part 4 and to kind of end out the original 4 that they had, put together for this, and, before heading into doing this remake, and especially before this Omen prequel comes out next month. And now here I am. I've taken a break for a little bit on this, and I was ready to dive into this remake with an open mind. It's starring Liev Schreiber, Julia Stiles, Mia Farrow, and David Thewlis. The synopsis being the same as the original, pretty much. They weren't looking to really reinvent the wheel here. Now, when I go into a remake, as I've said before, I go in with a very open mind. I view remakes like a new production of a play, where we're going to have some different actors, different director, perhaps even the overall story kind of being tweaked and updated here and there to put aspects in it, which, the new production might even see as an improvement. I look at the remake of Fright Night as a perfect example of how to approach a remake. You update it some, you tweak it a little bit here and there, enough to change things up without straying too far from what Fright Night is. Different enough to be enjoyed on its own, but not so different that, it can't really be considered a Fright Night movie. In the case of The Omen from 2006, they kind of went a different route with this one. It was a route more similar to the Gus Van Sant remake of Psycho, where he did that shot-for-shot remake back in '98, I believe it was. Which ultimately, though those performances in that remake of Psycho were fine, it just felt like a waste of time. So this one isn't quite a shot-for-shot remake. It is definitely beat for beat. Moment to moment, they kind of followed the original so closely, at least all the major important parts, that I felt like I was watching a parody of sorts. Though not without the tweaking along the way to make it a comedy or something, just watching The Omen again, just with different people playing the parts. Which is fine, I'll get into that in a moment, but, it works okay. The performances are fine, it was shot well, the soundtrack worked, and the overall style was nice to see this story slightly updated just in that time frame as far as what was going on in the world leading up to 2006, pointing toward this end of times happening. But the problem was that it was so similar to the original, I had a hard time kind of staying interested. It had been several weeks since I saw the original, and honestly, having seen it just that one time in recent years, it isn't one of those classics that I'd seen over and over that was really burned in my brain. But even so, even with only seeing it that one time in recent years, everything about this film was just way too familiar. Though it is a fine film, the similarity of the original just made it a bit boring since they didn't really take it in any new directions or add anything to it that seemed like it was missing from the original. I guess the strangest comparison I can make is to the 2016 Ghostbusters film. That reboot where that initial introduction and setting up the world of ghostbusting for somebody who's familiar with the original Ghostbusters made that initial 30 to 45 minutes of that film kind of boring. They already knew what it was. They're seeing a retelling of something that they're already familiar with. But for somebody new to Ghostbusters who hadn't seen the original, maybe they would have enjoyed that film much more. Like Ghostbusters, I feel like this film is one of those that's suited for somebody who's interested in the Omen, but they've never seen the original and they kind of have a hard time connecting with older films, just that they feel a little bit too removed from them as they're a bit dated. You give them this updated, more current take on it, they may enjoy that, film quite a bit. Though I would still, of course, make the argument that even if older films are something they have a hard time connecting with, to still give those originals a shot first, especially because in the case of The Omen, I never felt like there was anything missing from that original film. But even though they do try to follow a lot of the good things about the original Omen, this film's pacing does seem to stumble a little bit. It seems to lose its footing a bit, and it does seem to drag in that second half. And of course, that may just be because I was, losing interest and getting a little bit bored because of all those similarities. Perhaps somebody else who's new to it wouldn't have had any of those originals if they hadn't seen, or any of those issues if they hadn't seen the original and had been making those comparisons. So, to sum it up, for most, especially those who are a fan of the original, this remake is, a bit pointless, is that there was nothing new brought to it, and there's nothing lacking from the original that they could address in this one or represent in this one. But if one has interest but they're not in the mood for an older film, maybe they would like this remake instead. Maybe that's the target audience they were going for. But, you know, maybe they would actually enjoy checking this one out. And speaking of checking out, thanks for checking out this latest kind of wrap-up video here for the remake review of The Omen from 2006, which at the time of this video is available on Hulu, and various paid services, of course. And like I said, I would recommend the original, but if 70s cinema isn't your thing, maybe this remake will be for you. And that pretty much wraps up The Omen, you know, the original 4 plus the remake. All in all, I would say, like I said at the beginning of the video, those first 3 I would definitely watch again. I really enjoyed those quite a bit. And I would definitely recommend this box set because it's got those 3 films in it. All that's left now is really the prequel, the first Omen, which I believe comes out in the US on April 5th. So I will definitely be checking that one out. I'm not really interested in getting involved in checking out the Omen TV series from years back, but maybe somewhere down the line, you know, after I check out this prequel, I'll end up getting interested and want to check out that one as well. Anyways, that's about all that I have for this entry here. Thanks for coming by and sticking around to the end, as it really does help out quite a bit, as does liking and subscribing and sharing, of course. Be sure to, you know, hit that bell to get the notifications for when new videos come up, because I do plan on having some others right around the corner here. But as for you, have you seen the Omen remake, and have you seen the original? What is your thought? Was there any reason to do a remake? Was there anything that you liked better in the remake? Sound off in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.